So how is State Street responding to the current outbreak? I think we're focused on a few key areas. Number one, of course, is making sure that our staff and their families are well equipped to deal with the current troubles that we're going through. As all of you know better than me, this is changing every single day, which means that we're trying to keep in communication as much as possible, understand the impact that this has on their lives outside of the office, and making sure that they have the right resources in which to respond. The second thing we're looking to do is to focus on our needs of our customers. So during this time more than ever, this is where partners rely on each other to get the type of things done that we do every day. And as we move into different modes of operation, whether it be that work from home, looking to more follow the sun models, looking to make sure we load balance in the right type of way, we're trying to do that in two ways. One, to test and make sure what we do every day is as secure as we possibly can, but also look to work out what we need to do in the future and what type of modifications we make to our operating model in order to make that work. And then the last thing that we're doing today is making sure that when we're sitting down with our customers and trying to talk about what it is that they need from us, that we're not only looking at what we did yesterday, but what their needs may be in the future and trying to understand that in the best way possible so that we can align what our plans are with what their plans are. Because in this time of rapid change where everything is moving at such a high velocity, I think that communication element is really important. So when you look at how we can help our customers today, I think there's a number of elements that we've begun to evolve our thinking on as we've stepped into this. So the number one obvious one is how can we help them prepare for an operating model that is different from the model that we've been used to today, whether that be location strategy, social distancing, how we hand off between our organizations, how do we make sure we coordinate. That'd be the number one thing that we can make sure the left hand is knowing what the right hand's doing. Simple things like call lists. If those call lists are things that go to office numbers and people are no longer at the office, does it still work in the same way anymore? So we think about those type of things. But then as we've begun to dive into this deeper, there are other types of things that our customers are coming to us and saying, hey, what can we do to address this problem that we have jointly? So sometimes that's in location. So it could be that we either have locations that we need to operate, they want to move to a split location, which means we have to change our operating model or the way we interact with them. How can we help make that as effective as we possibly can? Customers are coming to us and saying, what if I couldn't do this? So today I can do this, today I can run this split. What if I couldn't do that in the future? Is there anything we could talk through now in order to prepare us for what it might look like in a future environment? And sitting down really and doing a bit of a war game type scenario to say, hey, how could we do this differently? I'm going to say that again. Sitting down and doing a game type scenario that allows us to look at what the potential outcomes are and then looking at what we need to do to be able to address that situation. And then lastly, I would say that customers are coming to us and really looking for ways that we can help them stay informed and show leadership from where we are within the financial system and all the work we do for our many customers around the world so that we can keep them informed what's going on in other parts of the world. How can we make sure that their model and how they're adapting is taking all the same considerations into account? And then finally, how we're being able to be a true partner to them in terms of looking at this as an opportunity to say not only where we are today, but what can we learn from this in terms of our ongoing business models in the future? Because as we're going through this processing, I think all of us, both here at State Street and at our customers, we're finding it possible to do things that in the past were only theoretical. And as we're going in and proving it to ourselves that we can do these things differently, I think that creates opportunities for us to say, what do we need to do differently in the future? When you consider what our clients should be thinking about now, I think it's important from a personal perspective that they, like us, and this is what we've seen almost universally, they should be thinking, number one, about making sure that their staff and their staff's loved ones are contemplated within everything that we do, because one of the things that we've found, and if you look at our operating model that we've gone through, the changes particularly in the way that we service our business out of China today, we've really realized that there's a big human element to this. So I'd encourage all of our customers to be thinking about how best to engage that human element. The second thing I'd say is looking at this as an opportunity to work with State Street to say, how can we come up with a better model that is more risk tolerant for what we do in the future? I think for a long time, we've all been working on disaster recovery plans, how we all need to work together differently, and this is providing us with a real opportunity to test and stress all those plans, and it would be remiss of us if we didn't come out at the end of this and come up with a better model for us all to work together. The last thing I'd say, and I'd really encourage every one of our customers to do this, which is to look at State Street as a resource in this time to say, what can we do to help you? And quite often when people think of us, they think of us as the financial engine that helps the money move around the world, make sure the trades get settled, make sure the NAVs get calculated every day. This is an opportunity to say, we've got a lot of different capabilities here. I'd encourage our customers to be calling on us to say, how can you help with certain problems? We can't always guarantee to be in a position to be able to provide that help, but we're certainly in a position to try. And I think that's where myself and the entire management team of State Street is focused on at the moment, is not only meeting our daily commitments to our customers, but looking for ways that we can add to them and really try and use this as an opportunity to get better with our customers. Yep. When I think about what this may mean to the future of the industry, I think there are some more obvious things that may change, and there are some less obvious ones. If I think about the obvious ones, number one is, what's our preparedness to actually operate in an environment that gets structurally changed very quickly? I think, as I always say to my team here, that the way that we've performed during this and the way that we've talked with our customers, overcome problems, really provides a bit of a roadmap to how we need to do this differently in the future. And I think we've all had either disaster recovery plans or different types of elements of how we need to recover things. But I think there'll be a greater interdependency of those plans going forward and a greater testing at a straight through level on how they operate. The second thing I'd say is it's going to fundamentally change the way we view work from home and view work from home from a productivity perspective, not only from a capability perspective. So can you operate without falling over from working at home? Can you get better as an organization working at home? And how do you bring that type of idea of getting better into a distributed workforce environment? Number three, I think it really has fixated my mind, at least to a degree, on how we deal with the peripheries around people's jobs. So one of the environments that some of our team are working in at the moment is school is being cancelled. Their partners have other jobs. Their other jobs have different types of requirements to what we put in. They still have families. They still have other commitments that they need to meet. How do we think about those things rather than just on what the output that we need to get is something that, is necessary in everything that we do? And over the years, I think there's been a lot of industry lip service to some of those types of things. How do we support working mothers and things like that? Maybe there's an opportunity, or working parents, I should say. Is there an opportunity here to really change the way we think about doing those things in the future? Less obvious to me are actually the things that we need to prepare for now in an environment where we couldn't operate. So what agreements can we strike now with people, go through the legal, go through the proposition to say, what if I couldn't trade? What if I couldn't do an aspect of my portfolio management? What if I couldn't? We do a lot of planning on the basis of how we can, and this is how we convince ourselves how we can. In this type of environment, I think we have to ask ourselves, have we done enough in terms of the contingency plan where this gets moved to something else or somewhere else in order to be able to get done? And I don't think that's been fully resolved as a part of this process, and we'll work more on how we need to do that. The last thing I think that will impact the industry is the concept of what does global really mean in terms of our operating models. Because we have a lot of operating models that are bilateral in nature today, and we've all been working towards moving to a more pass-the-book 24-hour model of how we operate these things. And clearly our ability to swap work between locations that have the same capabilities and have them take up the slack is something that we're getting better at every day as we go through and dealing with this particular crisis. And so I think that'll be something that will be more of a focus of attention post this. So what is the one message that I'd like to be able to give to everyone that State Street interacts with? I'd say it's actually two messages. So number one is be safe, make good decisions. I always think that in these environments, we're all torn different ways and there are different priorities. And we just hope that everyone who works for State Street is a customer of State Street, and really everyone that is impacted by this stays as safe as they possibly can during this time. The second thing I'd say is I'd like to thank everyone who works for State Street with their willingness to work with us to come up with better models. So one of the things that we've found from day one in this environment is that maybe it's the environment itself, but it's forced us to really address what are the true issues and how do we work together with our customers in a way that I can tell you is hugely engaging for State Street staff because they feel they're really making a difference for how our customers deal with this situation. So I'd just like to say thank you to you all.